just to get a quick update on some of the activities at the Alabama Water Institute. The last time we had a town hall was before a lot of major events that have happened. And so what I want to do is give folks in our community an update on where things are, what we're doing. So the big news since the last town hall obviously is the award of the Cooperative Institute for Research to Operations in Hydrology. It's a new NOAA Cooperative Institute that's kind of tied to the National Water Center here on the campus at the University of Alabama. But inside of that Cooperative Institute are partners and members, a total of 28 in all when we roll them all up. And so one of the things I want to do is give folks just kind of an overview of where we are. I will say that May 20th was a really important day. Steve Burrian and his team did a wonderful job working with our partners to get in 14 proposals, okay? And so this slide is a little bit of an overview of what some of those are. But the key thing here is there's 14 project proposals. They went in, there's a total, we're splitting the enacted money between FY21 and FY22 into two pieces, $17.5 million in 21 and 22. So there's 2 years for those first 2 years. That money, we had vigorous discussions with many different parts of NOAA to determine exactly what they're looking at. The good news is that there are no one-year awards except for a piece related to mission support, which is putting some scientists and engineers inside the Water Center who are Alabama employees to fulfill some obligations that came from the previous Cooperative Institute that supported the Water Center. The reason I tell you that is multi-year awards are a lot easier for everybody to manage, so we don't have to go through the rigmarole of every year trying to do one-year awards that are going to be an absolute pain for many of us. So that's a good news story. I'm optimistic that as we get rolling, if our proposals are reviewed appropriately by NOAA, we hope to have some of that money in hand by August, and then we need to push it out to our partners and members. So if you look at it, we've got, again, 14 project proposals, 47 sub-projects, and it's at 58.9. The reason that is, while NOAA received $35 million in funding for the Cooperative Institute, other parts of NOAA have come in and said, we want to buy through that Cooperative Institute. So this is a really good story, and it's a tribute to the team, the researchers here at the University of Alabama, our teammates on the Cooperative Institute, and I'm very optimistic that as we push forward, we're actually going to see that number grow. So I'm very optimistic that when this funding comes in, then we've got to execute it, and that's the fun part where you actually get to do the work. We're no longer in the proposal phase, we're actually doing the research. The team proposals, there's 8 project proposals from the Cairo team, and this 41 sub-projects, that money is really tied to Cairo because, right, that 33.1 fits inside the 58.9. The National Water Center, NOAA, NOS, okay, these are projects. Remember, there's funding for those as well. These projects are lined and they got to be integrated. So this theme, if you look at our themes, we had 4 themes going in. 5 of the proposals around operational water, 2 are around the community water model, 2 on hydroinformatics, and 5 on forecast design and community resilience. Those numbers were negotiated. We're optimistic in terms of as the future, as we grow the budget, there's going to be more in those pots, but those are the pots we're going to focus on. And I will say we want to build a community. That's a big part of this Cooperative Institute, which is building community. So 90% of our members or partners have funding. The education outreach programs are going to come in. I will say that we're going to have to work to build the case for that, okay? We have a lot of people interested in physical science, but we need to make the case. How do you build better risk communication? That's a social science function. So we'll see how that plays out. And then there's a lot of interest from sponsors to do this, and I'm going to say this, NOAA came in with a number of projects above and beyond the Cooperative Institute, like things that to support COASI, things to support some training, so we're going to have to see how those play out. The central region of the Weather Service came in. They're doing an analysis of how to better integrate themselves. They want to do it through this Cooperative Institute, and while that's not directly related to hydrology, the River Forecast Center that supports central region of the Weather Service is going to be a part of that. So this is a big deal. I will also tell you, to be perfectly blunt, we're probably going to make mistakes in how we execute things early on, but we just came out of a meeting prior to coming into this town hall, meeting with the administrative team here at Alabama to make sure we're trying to get all our ducks in a row. But we've never done something this size before at this scale, but we're ready. And I hope that NOAA's ready. I will just say that we did hear from NOAA last week. we had a really a panic moment. NOAA could look in grants online and see that everybody's proposals were in, but they couldn't pull them down. So the good news is they figured out how to do that. That was a problem on their end. So the last thing in the world we wanted to do is not get awarded because they couldn't pull our work down, but they solved that. So Cairo's a big deal. So this is a second really good news story, and I want to thank Mike Gramillion, who's my deputy. Mike wears two hats as the deputy, but he's also running the Global Water Security Center. And this is a great story, which is Mike is putting together a really unique center here at the university to use water as a tie-in to the national security space about how are we going to see problems in the environment that cause geopolitical problems that we can address. There's nothing like this right now that we know of in the world, for that matter. And so Mike is ramping up, and he has worked very diligently with the Department of Defense and folks up on Capitol Hill to secure this money. And so we're excited. Hopefully this money is going to come in the July-August timeframe, but we're going to get $4 million from DOD, and this is going to become a program of record within the Department of Defense. And this is something that's been a long time coming. Mike's leadership here has been exemplary, because this is something we know that the country has needed. It just hasn't been provided. So he's got staff on board. And so as we grow this, we're pretty excited. And I will say that when the Russian-Ukraine conflict kicked off, Mike was getting a lot of calls every day from people in various communities in the Washington, D.C. area. Hey, are you up and running? So there's going to be an excess demand. I would say on this one, give us time. But we're very excited about it, too, because we're going to be the integrative force. And Mike is going to drive this to really build bridges between environmental understanding and geopolitical instability, and putting new products out there to really understand in this space what we're going to do. So, and I'm going to put up here, it's very interdisciplinary. I should add, again, that's something that the Cooperative Institute's driving at, Mike's driving at, and one of our slogans within AWI is we want to be as integrated as the environment we're trying to predict. So interdisciplinary is the wave of the future. I don't think I'm not telling people here anything that they didn't know, but we're really trying to drive that capability. So GWSC is up and moving, and I want to thank Mike for his leadership. Wouldn't have happened if he wasn't here, and I'm grateful. Let me move on to the next slide, because this is very important to the overall community, and if you're not aware of it, we want to make sure you're aware of it, which is the National Water Center is going to be having the Summer Institute. In the past couple of years with COVID, this has been a very difficult lift, but the good news story here is they're going to host it. It's in June, so I would encourage you, if you're not going to attend, but to think about attending or calling in. I don't think it's going to be a hybrid right now. They want to do full face-to-face, but the reason it's important is we're very fortunate. We just hosted in April the American Water Resources Association's big spring meeting. We had 200 people from 37 states in Tuscaloosa, and we had a great turnout, great feedback from that meeting. Actually, it was so good that Ed Clark, the National Water Center, said, hey, you got to bring them back every other year. I'm not sure I can guarantee that, but we're going to try. But that fed into this discussion of the Summer Institute, and obviously the projects, and they're going to look at coupling inland and coastal hydraulics, okay, and seawater prediction. The next generation hydrologic model framework, I think a lot of folks are going to be interested in that. And of course, hydroinformatics and machine learning for water prediction analysis. Those are kind of the three big themes. If those interest you and you want to attend, please reach out to myself, Zach Krause, or Steve Burrion. We'll get you more information on it. The other thing is we're going to host it, the University of Alabama is going to host it outside the domain of the NWC for a variety of reasons. And I say this, that the NWC is still working on their whole return to work stuff. So we're trying to work with that and see how that works. Another big event that's coming, so when we talk at AWI about kind of the three-legged stool, it's NOAA, it's the Department of Defense. The third leg of that stool is the U.S. Geological Survey. And so 50 yards to my back is the new hydrologic instrumentation facility. I have been shocked at how fast this building has come out of the ground. They are working on a deadline. We were told by USGS officials that the contract stipulates that this facility has to be up by December of calendar year 23. I will say that given the pace at which they are building, come rain or shine, or we don't really get snow here, they're moving extremely fast to get this facility out. This is going to be a great asset for our community collectively at Alabama and with our partnering organizations. And so Don Klein, who's the head of the Office of Water, is coming down. He's visiting us on June 30th to have a conversation to put a cooperative research agreement in place. We're very grateful. There's $4 million in the USGS budget and the FY22 enacted to develop a pipeline for hydrologic talent. And I say that because we have people on the Zoom and people here in the room. I'm getting a lot of pressure both within the University of Alabama, but from industry. Start turning out water resource expertise at the undergraduate and graduate level, because those students will have jobs before they graduate. And this is a great way to attract talent to the University of Alabama. It's a great story. There's just not enough people right now to meet the private sector's demand as well as others. I heard recently that at the AWRA meeting, a Canadian company actually came in and tried to hire an entire section or group out of the University of Alabama. They are really hurting for this type of talent. So now when we get this cooperative agreement in place with USGS, we really want to facilitate this collaboration. And what the HIF is going to do, so everybody understands, they're going to develop the instrumentation for the next generation water observing system for the United States. So we have stream gauges in a lot of places, but they're old. What should new stream gauges and water observing techniques look like? Okay. And one of the things that Nate Booth, who's I think going to run this facility for USGS, has emphasized to me is marrying physical and biological observations. And let me just talk about that for a second, because that's going to be really important. We have an engineering college at UA that is very capable and can build some of these things. But the future is marrying things like environmental DNA sensors in the environment to that physical observation, so we can look up the watershed and start doing ecosystem management in a new way. This is exciting. When I was taking hydrology in college, we stood in streams. I will say it was in upstate New York, so it was really cold. And we took the physical observations, and then we tried to map over and make these hypotheses about what it meant to the local biology. Now we're really going to be able to do it in ways we've never anticipated. So it's really exciting, and I will say for ecosystem approaches to management, I think it could really revolutionize how we do a lot of that things in the United States. The other piece of this that's exciting is there's going to be some great opportunities to go and work with USGS, and as they build this system about what, really how do we get to hyperlocal, high resolution measurements? And Nate has said it's really clear, right? They want to get as small as possible at the local level, but they also got to be able to bring it up to the national level to manage the resource. So, and this is also going to be important because some of their instrumentation is probably going to be portable. USGS is looking at doing some basin analysis. I know the first one they're looking at doing is the Upper Colorado River Basin. And they want to be able to bring in portable sensors, much like the NEON program, the National Ecological Observing Network program at NSF moves in with portable sensors, or atmospheric radiation measurement program at DOE. USGS is thinking about how do we build some portable stuff that we can go and do basin by basin, do intercomparison. So this is an exciting development, and if everything works well, you'll see a press release and a really good story come out in August that we have come to agreement on how we're going to interact with USGS on this agreement. And I'll say the facility, I have to say this, the really neat thing is there's a 250-foot river that they're going to build inside it to test all this stuff. I'm advising, begging, cajoling that all UA faculty and staff do not go in there and put dye in the water or goldfish in the water or something like that. From my past, I had visited a wave tank up at MIT in Boston where some of the graduate students put trout into one of their streams and went fishing inside a building. So hopefully we won't have that problem here. Okay. Let me go to a couple local things. One of the things I wanted to bring to folks' attention here in Alabama, but across the region, is the Alabama Water Resources Conference is going to be happening this September in probably Perdido Beach or Orange Beach down there like it did last year. This is an annual meeting. Unfortunately, last year's meeting got crushed at the end by the Delta variant of COVID, if folks remember that. So a lot of us who were poised to go couldn't go. I got to find some simulated wood I can knock on. But hopefully they're going to be able to host that conference this year. The front end keynote panel is going to be with Mark Elliott. Mark is doing a lot of work in the Black Belt to solve some of the problems that we have down there in terms of infrastructure for water and sewer. So we're working on putting that panel together, but I would encourage people to make plans to attend at this point because it's probably going to be the first real face-to-face meeting we've had at the Alabama level coming out of COVID. And it would be nice to actually meet some of the people that we've been talking to in Zoom over the last few years face to face. I'll say coming out of the AWRA meeting, there was a lot of excitement about people that we met on the Cooperative Institute team, and I'm going to speak for Steve, Mike, and myself here, we had talked to these people for over a year on Zoom. We finally got to meet them face to face on April 25th. So it was an aha moment. And I'll just say that people look very different in person than they do on Zoom. So there's a good story there. So I would encourage folks to think about this Water Resource Conference going forward, because I think it's really important. And then let me finish up with one last thing, because I always ask this question, and I'll ask it of the people in the room on the Zoom. It's a rhetorical question. Does everybody here have enough money to do your work? Raise your hand. Good. No one in the room has raised their hand. I don't think anybody online has. We've got some good news. We are fairly confident that the NOAA Cooperative Institute is going to get an additional $10 million in the FY23 process. We are working to get the Global Water Security Center an additional $12 million in the process. And I know that the USGS, there's a commitment between USGS and the Hill for an additional $4 million to fund the money that will support that pipeline talent program that we're going to develop. That's exciting. So right now, resources are looking good. And I will say that Steve Burrian, Mike Gramilli, and I right now are working and looking at recruiting faculty to come in, because I think we're going to have more research requirements than we're going to have resources to meet all those requirements. That's an unusual problem to have. So bear with us as we're trying to put those pieces together. So that's the quick update. We are actually starting to get people back on the road. I know Steve Burrian is going to be traveling to Pakistan and Cairo, Egypt. Kate Brauman from Global Water Security Center is giving a keynote speech in Sweden. That's tough duty. And then I think she has to go to Hawaii. So Kate, we're with you. We know it's painful, but we're with you. And I'm actually going out to University of Nevada, Reno tomorrow to give a seminar on some of the things. They want to put together something like the Center of Excellence we're trying to create with DOD, NOAA, and USGS. They want to do it in the fire weather domain. So I'm taking a bit of my past and saying substitute fire for water and stir and mix. So I tell you this because there's a lot of great things going on. So with that, I want to thank the staff of AWI. I want to thank the partners on the Cairo team that have made this possible. I also want to thank our colleagues at NOAA, USGS, and DOD. We're really in a great spot right now, and a lot of things are happening that are exciting. And now, instead of writing proposals, it's about executing research, and that's a much better place to be in. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day. For the folks in the room, this is an incentive for those of you who zoomed in. There's coffee and food. And with that, thank you very much. Take care.